Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this video, we will learn how to properly terminate an SC fiber optic connector using a Z adhesive. The same basic process can also be used for Insertion connector, with a few differences that we will explain at the end. First, slide the buffer support over the fiber before beginning the termination process using the appropriate stripping tool. Carefully strip approximately 3/4 inch or 19 millimeters of the buffer and coating from the end of the fiber. Hold the stripping tool firmly and make sure both the buffer and coating are completely removed without damaging the fiber. Next, clean the exposed fiber thoroughly using a lint-free wipe moister with isopropyl alcohol. This step is very important because any dirt, oil, or contamination can affect the quality of the finished connector. Now place the prepared fiber into the grooves of the connector holder block. The next step is applying primer. Apply primer to approximately 1/4 inch or 6 millimeters of the buffer. Place a clean wipe on the work surface and squeeze a small drop of primer onto the wipe. Take the end of the connector and wipe it through the primer one time only. After applying the primer, immediately place the connector into the holder. Now turn the easy adhesive bottle upside down. Wait until adhesive reaches the tip of the syringe. Insert the syringe tip completely into the connector ferrule. Slowly increase pressure until you can see a small bead of adhesive appearing at the tip of the connector. While maintaining pressure on the syringe, carefully pull the syringe tip out of the ferrule. This helps ensure that the ferrule is properly filled with adhesive. Immediately insert the prepared fiber into the connector. As you insert the fiber, gently rotate the connector. This rotation helps the fiber pass smoothly through the connector without catching or hanging up inside the ferrule. Once the fiber is fully inserted, slide the buffer support onto the connector barrel. Next, place a micro clip onto the buffer support. Then place the complete assembly into the connector holder block. Allow the adhesive to cure for at least 1 minute. Do not disturb the connector during the curing process. After the adhesive has cured, remove the holder from the block and carefully remove the connector from the holder. Now inspect the connector tip and remove any excess adhesive. Be extremely careful during this step because the fiber is very fragile and can easily break. The next step is to remove the fiber stub using a cleaving tool. Carefully score the fiber close to the ferrule with one single stroke. Do not repeatedly score the same area because this can damage the fiber or create an uneven break. After scoring, gently pull the fiber away from the connector tip. Immediately place the removed fiber scrap into an appropriate sharps or fiber waste container. Now, we can begin polishing the connector. Start with green type H polishing paper and use an air polishing technique to remove the remaining fiber stub. Use light, controlled circular movements of approximately 1 inch or 25 millimeters in diameter. Polish for approximately 20 figure-8 strokes on each required polishing paper. Using the polishing plate correctly after preparing the connector, carefully place it into the polishing tool. Now polish the connector using smooth, well-rounded figure-8 strokes. Continue polishing until all visible adhesive has been removed from the connector tip. Make sure your figure-8 movements are smooth and properly rounded. Avoid using excessive pressure, as this can damage the connector end face. After polishing, inspect the connector tip carefully using a fiber inspection microscope. Here is an example of a properly polished connector. This is an example of a chipped connector. A chipped or damaged connector should not be accepted for installation if you can still see adhesive remaining on the connector tip. Continue polishing with a few additional figure-8 strokes and inspect it again. Once the connector tip is clean and properly polished, install the grip. Push it firmly onto the connector until you hear or feel it click securely into place for single-mode connectors. Additional polishing steps are required. Place a sheet of white type E polishing paper over the type H paper. With the dull side facing upward, apply a small amount of distilled water to the polishing paper. Use an empty polishing tool to distribute the water evenly across the surface. Place the connector into the polishing tool and polish using approximately 6 to 8 well-rounded figure-8 strokes. After polishing, clean the connector with a lint-free wipe moistened with alcohol. Then dry the connector using another clean section of the wipe. Finally, inspect the connector tip again using the microscope. Here is an example of a good, clean connector. And this is an example of a dirty connector, which requires additional cleaning before installation. This completes the installation and termination process for the SC connector. if you are terminating an street connector, there is one additional step. Apply a small drop of Loctite Superbonder to the threads of the buffer cap, then immediately screw the cap onto the connector body, and that's it. The SC connector is now properly terminated, polished, inspected, and ready for use. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next file.